Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Prophetic News Hour. My name is Maverine, and we're going to go ahead and get right in because there's so much going on in the news, and there's so much debate, more debate along the spectrum of opinions than there is time to even encapsulate on a short video. And so what I want to do, as is my intended goal and purpose via this channel, is to choose a story from the news and to share, ask questions, and even offer insight that will help us think about things outside of the myopic nature of our own limited experience. Because what's happening now in the world, and regardless of what nation you reside in or call home, what is happening around the world has everything to do with a bigger battle, a larger battle that will affect us and our children and our grandchildren, as many generations as will come. And so today's story in the news that I want to focus on is this tariff battle. And it's considered a tariff battle because, as the United States President Donald Trump, has stated, he is implementing tariffs, and particularly reciprocal tariffs, on nations who have been tariffing, if you will, or charging United States manufacturers and businesses and service providers for the right, if you will, for the access to their nation, to their nation's consumers. And so, to put this in very basic terms, a nation like China charges much more for a set of towels that were manufactured, sewn, produced, packaged, and shipped from the United States of America, then America charges China for the same set of towels. For those of you who are card players, or and I mean card players like in the basic playing spades, or even a game like backgammon, the equivalent of what nations have been doing to American businesses and manufacturers, and therefore each one of us, each individual American and our families, the equivalent of what nations have been doing to us is saying, we require you to give us all of your high cards. Give us your trump card. Give us your kings, your queens, your jokers, your aces. Give that to us. And in return, we'll give you our numbered cards, number 2 and 3. And then let's just play this game of spades with you, American citizens, having given us all of your powerful cards, all of your trump cards. And call this a fair game. Now, I'm oversimplifying that maybe, but I need this to be shared in a way that reaches the masses, that again is accessible to the most people. Economically or financially, what that would be like is someone telling you, I demand you to give me 100 US dollars, the fiat currency, 100 US dollars. And in return, I'm going to give you a product or a service that is produced, manufactured, shipped, and distributed to you from another nation for what is the equivalent cost of maybe $10. But you, Give me that $100, and I'm going to give you something that for me and my country, my business, only cost me $10. So it's a very upside down system of trade, if you will, that we have been engaged in. And what the president and his cabinet are trying to do, at least most are trying to do, is level the playing field. Again, if we were playing a game of spades, what the president and his team is trying to implement is the equivalent of what is necessary. Making sure that you're not playing with someone who is looking at your hand or has hidden cards or marked cards. Making sure that your opponents aren't talking across the table to one another. Making sure that in the case of the towels, costing $10 for China to produce it, but them charging $100 to America, what the president is saying is, I know it cost you $10, and you have become wealthy beyond your imagination, China, on the backs of the American people, while the American people have increasingly suffered because we have lost complete industries shipped to other nations, or industries that haven't even been closed here and open somewhere else, but just have been quote unquote outsourced or taken over by other nations, so that our nation now suffers. Our people suffer. So rather than you charging us $100 for what cost you $10, I am now going to implement policies on behalf of the American people, whereby if it cost you $10, yes, you need a profit to stay in business. I'm a businessman. I'm going to limit your charge to the American people of, let's say, $20. And again, I'm oversimplifying this, but I'm putting this in terms that I hope most of us will hear and understand. We don't have to be economists to get this. The other thing that I want each listener to take note of is in your home. Look around your home. How much in your home is said and labeled made in America, assembled in America, produced in America? I would guess, as is the experience for almost everyone that I know personally, that the largest percentage of things inside your own home, even the vehicles that you drive in each day, are ones that are not predominantly manufactured, produced, assembled, and distributed from inside of the United States of America by American citizens who then have good jobs and opportunity to lift their families and care for their families. So while this is challenging for all of us, and I say this from personal experience, this is a necessary shaking. This is a necessary righting of an already turned over ship. America's ship we were already teetering on the bow. And nations were circling, the wolves were circling, ready to go for the jugular. Until now. So while this is uncomfortable in the short term, more uncomfortable for some than it is for others, my hope is that you and we begin to look at the news with the long-term view. How might this make things better for our children and our grandchildren, and even for us in later years? How might changing the course so that we are not, for the most part, owned by foreign nations who can threaten to cut off the basic manufacturing needs of automobiles, can threaten to cut off the basic manufacturing needs of our preferred entertainment methods and items. How might correcting the ship now and our going through a period of discomfort be better for us and our children in the long term? And here's the question. Are you willing to make that sacrifice for your children and your grandchildren? Because that's what it comes down to. Now, again, this channel is not about one side of the aisle or the other. This channel, I've said and said it again, I will say it again, I'm on God's side. And so ultimately, this system of greed that we know as capitalism, it ultimately is going to fail. It's not going to be replaced by socialism. It's not going to be replaced by communism. It's all going to be destroyed because it all functions on greed in many ways, the haves and the have-nots. So the entire system is ultimately going to fail. But until then, what must be done to right the ship? And while the ship is being righted, while the ship is being brought back into balance and made stable, what opportunities are opening to us so that we can extricate ourselves and no longer be so dependent upon any government, even our own? I'm going to put a link to a quick summary of what I believe is a better way. And I'm also going to put a link in this message just that encapsulates what I've tried to share with you here. But here's the prophetic news message of the day. This tariff battle is not a battle that our current president of the United States has to wage for his own personal gain. We must recognize that for President Trump to buy a $100 set of towels or more is not an issue. How do we know it's not an issue? He donates 100% of his salary as the president, back to the American people. So this is not about him needing to right this ship so that he and his family have the opportunity for life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, the quote-unquote American dream. This is about him seeing long-term, and many of those with him seeing long-term, and knowing that we are now, from an international business perspective, because he has been an international developer. He knows every game that's been played and laid, if you will, against the American people, the taxpayers, the breath, if you will, of our economy. This is about him trying to right this ship for us and our children and future generations. And we have an opportunity to even more wisely take it one step further so that no matter what happens, we are not dependent upon government and what rogue nations or communist nations, violent nations do toward us. Because right now, unfortunately, 99.9%, and I like to use that, I know it's a generalization, but it gives the magnitude of how serious this is. 99.9%, give or take, of the American populace depends upon things, services, items, materials, prescriptions that are not made in, produced, distributed, and benefiting the American populace. And so, for the ones who do control the things that we depend upon, increasingly this includes our food supply, our food chain. Remember what Sun Tzu says in The Art of War. The best way to bring your enemy to his knees is to control the supply of the necessities, food, water, and electricity. That's all I'll share for today. I'll share the next message as God gives me something to release, because there's so much news going on. For those of you who are watching this for the first time, and that includes most of you, know that this channel, again, is not limited to news on and about the United States of America, because the world is not centered around us. So the first release on this channel has to do with the battle that we are in, the battle between one world government systems, communist-style China, communist-style Russia, radical Islam, and republic freedom, wrongly known as democracy. But republic freedom, freedom of the people, the populace. We are in a battle, and it is my desire that we see things higher so that we're not controlled by our emotions and therefore easily led. God bless you all, and we'll talk the next time. I look forward to your comments below. Please tell me if there's a story that you would like to hear about, or a nation that you'd like some insight into and what's happening there. And we will press into those things. Take care and stay strong.